It's Jeff and Jeremy in the morning.
Are you in loser denial or something?
Jeff and Jeremy here. It's Metallica this weekend. Sunset Drive-In and the Highway Drive-In down in Santa Maria. San Luis Obispo. Don't forget, you can win. All you have to do is text the word RIDE, R-I-D-E, to 805-543-3693. And you should get a text back from us that says you're in the contest and this is what you need to do. Make sure you're following those directions and answer the phone correctly if we call you. Coming up at 8:20 this morning. It's Dumbass of the Day now, brought to you by Peterson's U-Cart. Their summer sale is going on right now. Save 10% on walk-on board, garden soil, compost, and topsoil from now until the end of September at Peterson U-Cart in A-Town.
How pathetic can some people be?
You know, something really fun to do just to mess with people. I haven't actually done this yet, but this will be awesome. Anyone could do it. You could do it. Here's what you do. Go to a stranger's funeral sometime. Stay with me. Go to a stranger's funeral sometime where you don't know anybody there, and it's an open casket funeral. That's important. And wear something weird, too, like a trench coat or a unitard. Just dress as weird and creepy as you can, and when you get there, don't talk to anyone. Just immediately walk up to the open casket, lean in, and so everyone can hear you, go, checkmate. And then run away, laughing hysterically. That's all you have to do. Think about it. That one little interaction is going to add so much mystery to that dead guy's life. But his friends and family be like, who the was that guy? Did Uncle Eddie have an arch nemesis? Was he a superhero part-time? What the
Dumbass of the Day. 93.3 KZOZ.
You would never be forgotten as the guy that said, checkmate.
No.
Hey, remember that guy in the hat that came in? We're off to Detroit. This is a bittersweet and kind of a sad, scary story. Did you hear about the woman that showed up and the paramedics said that her daughter died and then she was pronounced dead, taken to the morgue, only to wake up in a body bag?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's not the way you want to wake up.
Now, she's gone. And I told them, are you absolutely 100% sure that she's gone? They said, yes, ma'am, they are. Yes, ma'am, she's gone.
So, I mean, you know.
You got to take people at their word. They're professionals, right?
Have you ever really lost anybody? I mean, your grandparents, right?
Yeah, I've been pretty fortunate. But when you don't keep people close to you, you don't have to worry about that loss.
Yeah, but still.
When it takes place.
When you lose somebody close to you like that, I mean, it's devastating. I mean, your whole life changes. I mean, there's no way to avoid it. So when she got the next phone call from the funeral home, I don't know if you would have to pinch yourself, it'd be surreal or whatever, but the funeral home called because she woke up.
The lady said, ma'am, your daughter is on her way to Sinai Grace Hospital. She's breathing. She's alive. This devastated my life. And then she just told me, no, ma'am, your daughter is breathing. Your daughter is breathing. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean she's breathing?
She died on the way to the hospital.
That is horrible.
I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I don't know the condition of her daughter. I don't know. It didn't say. I'm sure she's alive and she's recovering.
But she almost didn't.
But could you imagine? She's alive. They're taking her to the hospital and then she dies on the way. It's like, I wish you would have never called me.
I'm watching Dead to Me right now on Netflix. And when the twin brother shows up.
I don't know anything about Dead to Me. I've heard of the name.
On Netflix?
Yeah, I don't watch Dead to Me. Should I watch it? Is it good?
I thought you've seen it.
Wait, I keep
with Christina
forgetting.
Applegate?
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know why. We did this last week. Yes, it's the new comedy, that dark comedy that she's in. Is this the second season? Are you still, or are they out with the third?
I am on the.
forgot that
I am on the second season right now. I don't know where it's at. I don't think they are out with the
Who
third.
shows up? The brother?
Yeah, the twin brother.
Oh my god,
that's hilarious!
Isn't that a great show?
It's the best. Show.
I'm sorry, I totally forgot that I had to. You had to say Christina Applegate, and I remembered. Oh, that's right.
That is the funniest show. But really weird and suspenseful. Funny, suspenseful. I just.
How bad do you feel for the girl that's
Judy?
Judy. She's so adorable. She's done other things. I can't think of off the top of my head because I didn't remember that I've seen Dead to Me.
They both are just phenomenal in their roles.
They're really good. It's a great show. And it's only going to get better. So as you finish second season, I can't wait to see what they do with season number 3. It's like Ozark and Dead to Me. I can't believe I'm saying this, and I forgot that that's the name of the show. I'm so bad with associating names with shows, but...
You ever watch the credits on Dead to Me? You know Will Ferrell's an executive producer on that show, which makes sense.
You know my attention. I can't. No. I'm on to the next thing right away, especially with Netflix, because it's like as soon as the credits roll, it says new episode starting in 3, 2, 1. Anyways, this woman wants to talk to somebody.
I'm devastated that my daughter is going through what she's going through. My family, I don't even have words. I haven't slept all night.
This is just a work. Listen, it's not important. Listen, she's obviously upset, but this can happen. This is important. You know, your body can go into there's a condition, and where your heart rate slows to the point that you have no vitals. So you have no blood pressure, you have no heart rate.
You breathe to get oxygen, correct?
Well, I guess you just go into this.
Why wouldn't you stick a mirror under the person's nose?
Well, I guess you're breathing so faintly. I don't know, because I would think that this would cause brain damage, you know, even if you did come back. But people come back from it all the time. It's not the first time. Now people are going to be going to the morgue saying, unzip the bag. I want to make sure that they're dead.
True. Especially in the Detroit area, the way they handle it. You have a loved one that passes away in Detroit. Take a mirror to the morgue with you.
Who do we give the dumbass to?
The system. I mean, come on. Whoever, the EMTs, the paramedics.
Do we give it to people trying to save lives? Were they a little careless?
Yeah, because they're not good at it. That's why you give it to them. They're horrible. They almost killed somebody. So yes, you do give it to them.
You got to make sure, man. I know you take an oath, and we appreciate what you do and all your work and how you risk your life. What do they say, body and limb or life and limb?
Hey, there's bad people in every professional field at their job, so I'm not going to call these ones heroes.
You are Jeff and Jeremy's
Dumbass of the Day. 93.3 KZOZ.
Don't be a dummy when it comes to your landscape supplies. Go to Peterson U-Cart on Gusta Road, just north of Quickie Car Wash in Atascadero.
We love U-Cart UK!
Jeff and Jeremy here online, KZOZ.com. Boy, you know, the election is coming up. I think everybody knows that. I mean, I don't care what planet you've been on. Everybody knows what's going on. Today is a very special day, though, Jeff. 100th anniversary. I know you know this because you paid attention in history. It is of the 19th Amendment, the women's right to vote.
See, the thing is, I didn't know it.
You didn't know it?
No, because, I mean, you get caught up in life and things, you know.
No, I mean,
go to the wayside. But this is a landmark day. It's a big day.
I'm not expecting you to remember because I didn't either until Glenn sent us an email.
Yeah.
And Glenn Silloway is on the line with us right now. He's a member of the board of the League of Women Voters in San Luis Obispo County, and he's also on the Centennial Celebrations Committee. Glenn, thank you for joining us. I mean, this is a pretty important day, though. I mean, this was the anniversary of a woman's right to vote, correct?
That's it. 100 years ago today, and to get to that point, women organized for over 7 decades to achieve that. So it's kind of amazing when you think about how much work over time. There was a convention in 1848 that really started this momentum, and only one person out of the 300 who started that actually lived to see the amendment enacted.
Wow.
I know.
That's crazy. But the time that people lived back in the 1800s, the life expectancy was a lot lower than it is now. So it makes sense because it wasn't until 1920 that it was ratified.
I know. Yeah, and 100 years ago, you think about that, and in human terms, there's a lot of people around who are over 100 still alive. You think they were born into a time when women did not have the right to vote.
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty wild to think. The backwards thinking. I mean, we know history. That's why we have history, right? So we know how, not to repeat a lot of the dumb stuff, stupid stuff.
You know what?
That was done in the past.
It's also a nice reminder of is how slowly the government was to enact on things back then as opposed to right now. It's the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes forever to get anything done in government, and that is because I'm sure that many people just it's so far out of our consciousness and so long ago that people probably just think that a switch was flipped when women were given the right to vote. But talk about some of the processes that it had to go over the 60, 70 years in order to get it enacted.
Yes. Yeah, it took a long time, because think about what the women were trying to do at that time. Who had the vote? Men had the vote. They had to convince the majorities of men in state after state to give them the vote. Now, how do you do that? It was a very difficult process, because you don't want to give up something you consider your power, right? So they had to work on it for a long time to finally get some momentum in the society to allow people to make people give women the equality that they wanted in civic society, which was their real goal, is that women's equality.
Very nice. I was just looking at an article, and it was talking about Susan B. Anthony, and we know her very important role that she played in this. It says that she actually visited SLO County during this campaign.
She did. Yeah, she came here in 1896. Some other of her crack organizers that she'd brought from the East Coast with her, they thought that California was ripe for the picking, and they came pretty close. But some people think maybe the liquor lobby in the Bay Area was stronger than the desire for the vote, and they had to get those votes from men, remember. So they didn't quite make it there in the state, but they did win San Luis Obispo County by 54%, and that's men voting to give women the vote.
That's Glenn Silloway. He's with the League of Women Voters. He's also on the Centennial Celebrations Committee as we celebrate the 100th anniversary. It was 100 years ago, 1920, that women were allowed to vote.
Yeah, and it's just so strange that half the country was given the right to vote 100 years ago.
It's so funny. We sit here today and we're dealing with so many different things socially, politically, and a lot of it is just common sense. And you think about how things have been done that's why history is so important, right?
History is important. I mean, and how this is not a bigger deal today,
right?
Is not. It's kind of lost on me. This is the centennial celebration of women having the right to vote, but we get caught up in the now of what's going on and other things cloudy the past and the importance of the past, and we can really learn from things that happened in the past to help shape the future.
What happens before a team gets to the Super Bowl? They work hard, they prepare, they practice. His Super Bowl is coming up here in early November. His name is Tommy Gong.
And he goes to the Super Bowl every year.
County Clerk Recorder for San Luis Obispo. We're going to catch up with him, and we're going to ask some questions about the mailing, all that kind of stuff process coming up. Stick around.
Wake up. Jeff and Jeremy in the morning.
Jeff and Jeremy here, online at KZOZ.com. Today we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, allowing women to vote 100 years ago. Glenn Silloway is with us. He's with the League of Women Voters as well as the Centennial Celebrations Committee. And now we bring in a guy who's probably pretty busy right now. Tommy Gong, he's the County Clerk Recorder for San Luis Obispo. I don't know how busy you are yet, but you have to be getting pretty busy, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for all of the changes that we're going to have for this upcoming election in November, we've been working, triple time in terms of trying to stay on top of it all.
Talk about some of these changes that we that are going to affect people immediately and are not really of the norm because of what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, so, a lot of it stems from the coronavirus that we're, in the middle of right now. And, so the Governor Newsom called for some changes to the election for voters to be aware of. And so number one is that every voter will receive a ballot in the mail automatically. Now, I'm trying to get a little bit ahead of the game and trying to get ballots out to voters a bit earlier than what we would normally. The stipulated deadline is October 5th. Right now, we're aiming for October 1st to be able to get those ballots into the mail, and so voters will get those, just following the date that they're dropped. into our distribution center. And then the second most important thing is that we will still have a limited number of voting locations available to voters. We'll have 23 locations open for 4 days of voting. This will actually be starting on Halloween on October 31st for 4 days, including November 3rd, Election Day.
So how is the mail-in vote different from the absentee? Because that's a good question. In California, it's exactly the same. When there is a request for an absentee ballot in other states, I'll just say like about a dozen years ago in California, we used to have it as absentee voting, but the nomenclature and the naming had all changed to vote by mail voting, recognizing that we have the ability for voters who want to become a permanent vote by mail voter, that they will just automatically receive a ballot in the mail for each election. But there are other states that still have it that you have to make a request for every election, each specific election, for you to request a absentee ballot. So each state is a little different. In California, it's along the more liberal laws, and so we just automatically, and because of the governor's executive order, we'll be sending everyone a ballot in the mail from the get-go. But since we've been doing it so long, there's less of a chance of bungling it. I guess,
Tommy. I mean,
for lack of a better term.
If we watch the news, whether it's national or local, every day or at least once or twice a week, you're going to hear a story about concern about the USPS and losing ballots and all this kind of stuff. It's just in the system every day. So I think that's what people are mainly concerned about. If they get their ballot by mail, they can actually turn it into the clerk's office or take it to a polling position. Is that correct?
Yes, that's a good point. So I should also preface it with the Postal Service that also part of the requirement is that there will be a tracking service provided on the outgoing vote by mail packet and the return of the vote by mail packet, that a voter can actually track their own specified vote by mail ballot. So these are all different services that are provided to voters free of charge through the Secretary of State's office, where they can see where their ballot is in the mail stream, seeing that it's arriving in their mailbox, or actually seeing that after they voted that ballot that we've received it, and so they can feel confident that it was, that it's accounted for. But you're right. There are many other options that voters have aside from using the Postal Service in delivering their voted ballot to us. They can certainly deliver it to our 2 elections offices in San Luis Obispo and Atascadero. We also have what is called vote-by-mail ballot drop boxes. We're going to have 19 of these located throughout the county, primarily using the libraries, and some of the libraries that are closed, we're making arrangements with them for voters to be able to drop into the book drop depository that they have at these locations. Some of them more remote, such as Shannon, Creston, and Santa Margarita, as well as Cayucas, that voters can drop off at their convenience at these locations. And then, of course, during those 4 days of voting, voters can just drop off their ballots while they're still in their car. We're going to have a way to be able to direct traffic for those voters who just need to drop off their vote-by-mail ballot at a voter service location, that they can drive and queue up in that line in order to just drop off their ballot and then be on their way.
All right, Tommy Gong, he's the county clerk recorder for San Luis Obispo. We also have Glenn Silloway with us.
And I feel a little bit bad for
League of
Glenn
Women Voters,
because we bring in Tommy. And here we are dealing with the 100th anniversary of women voting, but we're dealing with this mail-in.
We're just trying to deal with voting.
I feel like we're taking some of the thunder away from what an important day it is today. And what are some of the celebrations that you guys got planned for today, Glenn?
Yeah, let me just say, if I could just say, in case it wasn't mentioned before, our California Secretary of State has gone on to say that, the 19th Amendment, when it was passed, it was the largest expansion of voting rights given to women. It was among the largest expansion, or the largest expansion of voting rights ever when that amendment was passed. So it's very significant for our nation.
Was it hard?
Yes.
Was it hard to deal with the influx of more votes to count? I mean, that's something that you probably could both speak to.
100 years ago, who knows? We probably counted ballots by hand then.
Talk about delayed results.
And an increased voter, participation and voter registration numbers. Yeah, I've never had an opportunity to look into that, but looking at maybe what our statement of vote might have been previously, and then what it was after the initial passage would be an interesting study.
Yeah, and what we found, we have looked back at some of that data, and women did not start participating instantly. That has grown over time. Women didn't really become more prevalent voters in the United States until 1980. It took a long time. Now, in all of the elections since then, there's been a higher percentage of women voting and a higher number of women voting in every election. Let me just say about today is an important day in our political history and in our equality history. But the League of Women Voters is, we're not standing still on that, because the momentum that women built still needs to be carried forward. There's still people who aren't voting and need to be. So we're fully behind Tommy's work in educating people about how to vote. The League is sponsoring on a Mondays at noon for the next 10 weeks. There's going to be a live streaming Zoom meeting it's also on Facebook Live, with Julie Rodewald really leading us. It's Tommy's predecessor, is leading us in a discussion of the crucial issues of change in this election, how it has changed, and the information is going to be broadcast. Anybody can watch. You just need to like the League of Women Voters of San Luis Obispo County at Facebook, or send us your email, and we'll make sure that you get the invitation for the Zoom webinar. And you can follow these to make sure that you're on track and on time for what you need to do to get your vote counted.
Glenn, I think, Tommy, that when he said a lot of people still aren't voting, that was kind of my question to you as being the clerk. I don't know if you have this number off the top of your head, ballpark, but how many people actually voted in the last election in San Luis Obispo County versus how many people live here that are eligible to vote?
Oh, I don't actually have that information. I know it is available at the Secretary of State's website, because they keep tabs on this. They utilize the census data to come up with what are the number of eligible voters. I will say San Luis Obispo has, when you look at it, compare the data statewide, San Luis Obispo is among the leading counties of having in proportion of the number of registered voters to the number of eligible voters. It is among I would probably say the top 10 counties that are engaged in that they're registered to vote. In last March, we had a 80% turnout, which is probably amongst the highest turnouts we would have ever had for a presidential primary election.
Yeah.
And so if that's going to be any type of indication of what we're going to have in this election, that's an indication that's a good indicator. I take that back. We were at 63%, but again, that was one of the highest we've ever had for a primary election. The highest we've had for a general election is 83%, and I think we're going to eclipse that for this election because of the voter interest.
Yeah, the divide and how people see the country should go. I mean, there's probably never been such a great divide as there is today, and I could imagine that's going to drive a lot of people to have their voice heard. So good luck to you and everything. Jeff, did you have anything else?
No, I'd just like to thank you guys for both joining us and giving us a great deal of information today, and a landmark day that people need to remember in this country is when when 100 years ago today we allowed half the population to vote.
Yeah, right. All right, guys, take care.
Right.
Take care, Glenn. Take care, Tommy. There goes Glenn Silloway and Tommy Gong. Glenn's with the Board of League of Women Voters and the Centennial Celebrations Committee. And, of course, Tommy Gong is our clerk. We'll be right back.